Look, I don't know if I have to defeat death or what, but I'm taking out that barbarian leader. You can take that to the bank.
And now you found the key.
Bunions and Dragons!
Well, welcome to this episode of Bunions and Dragons, which is our campaign diary. Right now we're in the middle of Storm King's Thunder, so if you haven't played that and you intend to play that, spoiler alert, turn it off now. We meet up with our adventurers. They're 7th level. We've got Jeff Iron, who's a half-orc fighter. We've got Wolfgang Windsong, who is a wood elf ranger. We have Professor Jellyman, who is a high elf wizard. And we have Bardacious Tataz, who is a half elf bard. All just turned level 7, and that's where we are. At some point we might go back and do some reminiscing and bring our diary up to speed with some prequels. But this is the point in which we're starting this particular part of the adventure. So let's turn to the Necronomicon and see where this story is. So our adventuring party is is heading north on the road to Long Saddle. We came upon a small group of 4 satyrs. We weren't sure what to do with them. We struck up a conversation. They were very pleasant. Bardacious the Bard, with a pretty high charisma, was able to engage them in conversation.
Yeah, those satyrs are really cool. They even taught me how to play the pan flute.
It turns out that the Griffin tribe of barbarians are in the area. They are not good actors. No bueno.
Barbarians. I'll just chop them up with my longsword.
And they can be found in the hills to the east of us, in the Griffin Hills. That's where they be. We were warned of a frost giant by the name of Harshnag, who the satyrs regularly dine with and have good relations with. And Harshnag is not a fan of the barbarians. We shared a meal with the satyrs. The Dungeon Master was kind enough to award us 100 experience points for our interaction with the satyrs, and we continued our journey to Long Saddle.
Woohoo! I definitely like experience points. Keep them coming.
When we arrived in Long Saddle, we explored the area a little bit. We did not go into the Gambling Golem, which is a fest hall. I'm assuming it's kind of a tavern or somewhere where we would celebrate festivities and things of that nature. We settled into the tavern proper, the Gilded Horseshoe. Up near the front of the entrance of the tavern was a corkboard with wanted posters all over it. Considering our previous actions as a party, we decided to scour the corkboard to see if our wanted posters were there. We have found them in other cities, by the way. Ours was not there. But we did see a posted bounty on a dark-haired dwarf with a mad glaze by the name of the Weevil, his nickname. He is wanted for theft and murder, and his full name is Warvel Forkbeard. There's a 5,000 gold piece bounty on his head, and at this point we've got nothing better to do. Wouldn't mind a little extra jingle in our pockets. So we took the wanted poster and decided to set our sights on Mirabar. This dwarf was last seen in the mines of Mirabar, and the Marchian of Mirabar has offered this bounty. So we think that's where we're going to go. We also heard tale of an ivory tower to the west of Long Saddle. where a family of wizards live and oversee the protection of Long Saddle from the barbarians. Bardacius noticed one of the wizards in the tavern and offered him up a shot of Goldschlager. The floating little pieces of gold within this elixir fascinated the wizard, and they were able to strike up a little bit of conversation. Bardacius offered to buy them drinks all night if he would invite the rest of his wizards, the wizard family, to dine with him.
Party, party, party.
Party, party, party.
We're doing shots with wizards, we're doing shots with wizards.
I'm gonna get me some Goldschlager.
At this point, Professor Jellyman was not with the group. He was holed up into the room in the inn, scribing spells from the book that they took from the murdered wizard earlier in the adventure. The murder for which this party is actually wanted for. And it was determined that Professor Jollyman should focus on scribing over that knowledge into his own book, so that we could either use the book and plant it on a target to place the blame there, or at least be able to get rid of it so we wouldn't have evidence of this murder upon us.
And so, per usual, I'm in my room studying while everybody's out there partying.
Bardacius and Iron and Wolfsong tried to entertain the wizards for that evening. They didn't show up much, but there was a breakfast spread that was purchased in anticipation of Jellyman being done with his research, and we invited the wizards to sit down and have a conversation and get to know the wizard in our party. The wizard in our party, I think, Professor Jellyman was overwhelmed with the number of wizards in the room.
No, I wasn't. Whatever.
He did want to seek knowledge, anything that they could share with him. But he felt a little bit intimidated, again, with the amount of magic and magical power within that room. And for once, Professor Jellyman was a bit tongue-tied.
No, I wasn't. Whatever.
They did wonder if they may have scrolls for purchase, because that's what Jellyman does.
Yeah. So, you got any scrolls?
The 4th level scrolls that he was seeking, however, had a 900 gold piece price tag to it. We didn't know if that was a fair price or not, but it was quite a sum of money, and we decided to forego that. We said we would be interested in purchasing something in the 400 gold piece range, to which they only offered Stinking Cloud. We took a pass on that one as well. Wolfgang Windsong, in his usual openness and love of tales, basically spilled his guts to the wizard, told them everything that was going on, everything we've discovered thus far with our interactions with the giants, the breaking of the ordning, the capture of the...
It's called the Bonadon, and I don't talk too much and spill my guts. It's called the Bonadon.
The capturing of the... what was that called?
The Bonadon.
Capturing of that weapon piece. I have to check my other notes.
The Bonadon.
The one that was dug up by the giants and taken away.
It's called the Bonadon.
So the party decided to set out from Long Saddle to head north to Mirabar. Not long down the road, the party was pounced on by 4 manticores. Wolfgang and Splendor, his companion wolf, were out foraging for food for the party. When the manticores came on the scene, Wolfgang was still 450 feet from the rest of the party. He booked. And the wolf ran after him. The party heard the commotion, and the other 3 started running towards Wolfgang, Windsong. Wolfgang and Splendor got in some blows against the Manicore, but he was very relieved. He was beaten up a little bit and happy to see the rest of his party. And as they came in, they were able to drop the Manicore just in time. The party, every party member was awarded 600 experience points at that point, and that's what pushed them over to level 7.
Woohoo! I definitely like experience points. Keep them coming.
Jeff Iron, the half-orc fighter, gained the ability of remarkable athlete. Wolfgang Windsong is now able to locate object. Bardacious acquired the polymorph ability, and Professor Jollyman took on 2 new spells into his spellbook: Resilient Sphere and Phantasmal Killer. Not much further down the road, we had yet another random encounter. The DM's dice were hot for this, and we were thirsty for blood anyway. A half a dozen griffins flew in, and they were far enough away that we decided to kind of let them be, and the griffins just went off into their own. But soon, a solo frost giant came walking through the flock of griffins, carrying a half a dozen human heads, and marching right towards the party. Things got a little confusing. I don't know who shot first or what was going on.
Yeah, I shot first. What are you gonna do, sue me?
The party's pretty much throwing Bardacious under the bus for charging out and setting the first attack on this frost giant. Professor Jollyman wasn't really in the mood and decided to cast invisibility on himself anyway and stayed back out of the scene. Wolfgang and Iron and Bardacious were all ripping Professor Jollyman for being a wussy and just hiding out. Iron and Bardacious and Wolfgang put some heavy hits on the giant. Wolfgang got knocked out.
Hey, no I didn't. That was Bardacious.
Got hit for 44 on the first hit and about an equal sum on the second, and was knocked unconscious. At that point, when it looked like the tide had turned in favor of the party, Professor Jollyman finally grew a pair of elven stones and came out of his invisibility and launched a higher level magic missile at the frost giant, severely wounding him. I think it was Wolfgang, I'm not 100% sure. But we got the killing blow on him, and we dropped the frost giant. Hooray, right? Not so fast. Zephyros, the cloud giant, had left Professor Jollyman with a communication crystal, which started beeping and lighting up. Something was amiss. Jollyman answered the call to Zephyros, and Zephyros stated, "You fools, you just killed Harshnag, the friendly frost giant. He is not your enemy, and you utterly destroyed him, you fools." And he warned us about the calamity that we had just unleashed. And I can't remember if the cloud giant Zephyros, the wizard, said goodbye or not. But the communication crystal shattered. He was done. Zephyros was done speaking with us. Well, now that we know what we have done, now that we know we were warned that there was a friendly frost giant in the area, and this was the one, we had to heal him. Not sure what would happen after the giant came through. We would have to throw ourselves at his mercy, explain to him that most frost giants, almost all of them, are hostile, and that we were a little overzealous, and it was our mistake. We apologized. By the way, Bardacious was able to recover from his near fatal injuries, but we couldn't bring Harshnag. We were able to stabilize him and not bring him back. His injuries were pretty massive. Then a party of elves came upon the scene. They were distraught that Harshnag was laying dead there. They inquired what happened, and the party explained that it was a severe error on their part, nothing more. And could they help?
We are so sorry.
Could they possibly help in the healing rather? There was an elven healer within the group by the name of Clandestine. He was able to help bring Harshnag back to the living. Yay! There were three other elves that we had conversed with, 3 other NPCs. Raynos the Pink, Lester the Molester,
of bad people, so he's actually a good person, and Old Smoky. Between them and the Elven Healer Clandestine, we were able to get things back on track. We apologized profusely to the giant, explained what was going on. Harshnag had real no memory of that incident, some memory loss due to the damage of the battle, and by the grace of the gods, he forgave us. He said that we should seek the eye of the All-Father under the spine of the world. Our dungeon master also determined that no experience would be awarded because we almost blew his entire plot line there. Comment below if you think that was a good call or not. I think we still had the experience of killing a frost giant. It wasn't the one we wanted to. But hey, it's the dungeon master's world. But if you have some thoughts on that, share it below. It was getting quite chilly as we marched our way north through the Forgotten Realms, and when we came into Xanthral's Keep, the party was able to buy cold weather gear and mountaineering equipment for everyone. Harshnag, who by the way we nicknamed Hashtag, and I'll probably refer to him as Hashtag going forward perhaps, did not want to go anywhere near the keep. He said he would venture around and we would meet him north of the keep when our business was done. Off to the west, we noticed quite the skirmish. We see a giant frost giant coming in, but along with an army, about 50 goblins, 10 hobgoblins, 5 ogres. We're not sure if that frost giant is Hashtag or not. We know that Hashtag was wearing a dragon skull for a helm, but we couldn't see to identify him.
That does not look like Hashtag to me. We should probably just do what we're told.
Professor Jellymon insisted that we should check to see if Hashtag is at the rendezvous point as we originally agreed. And the party finally decided to follow that wisdom. But we wanted to veer a little bit to the west to see what we could see by way of that army. And we could see it starting to descend upon Xanthral's Keep. But we did run into Hashtag north of town. Hashtag says that frost giant with the army is probably the frost giant Horfest, and she is not a pleasant creature. He advised against the party doubling back to lead assistance to the keep. He said that the keep is more than defensible with their current assets, so that wasn't really an issue. Hashtag also insisted that we skip our quest into Mirabar. I don't think that he particularly cared for bounty hunters and was surprised to learn that this party was hunting a bounty. And instead, Hashtag had shared his vision that he should seek the Oracle. So we decided to follow Hashtag on his quest. With some insight checks from Wolfgang Windsong and Professor Jellymon, it was determined that Hashtag seems sincere in his quest and in his endeavors, so we would lend him our support. As we were moving west past Mirabar, 13 berserker barbarians, 12 foot soldiers, and 1 leader descended upon the group, and that's where we concluded that particular section.
Standing on the shores of tomorrow, listening to the whispers of the never-ending sea. Years ago you sailed away, and now you found the key.
Look, I don't know if I have to defeat death or what, but I'm taking out that barbarian leader. You can take that to the bank.